Welcome back to Lobby Legends Noblegarden. We've already had one game so far with Alucard taking the victory, but still a few other players hot on his heels, of course. We are getting ready to go into game number 2. Is this going to be a theme, Sottle, of players, maybe playing a slightly more aggressive, like we saw from game 1? Or do you think that was maybe something a little bit different as a one-off?
Yeah, I called it out going into day 1, right? That competitive play is different, and I've kind of heard various streamers talking about this leading into the event, where everyone was saying, oh, it's just going to be Naga over and over again. And some streamers who have played in big tournaments, I heard Bofa talking about it, I've heard Sunglitters talking about it, just saying like tournament play is different, and you can't really understand how different it is until you've experienced it, because players understand the game and the metagame, quite literally the metagame, not necessarily the metagame as in, well, Naga are good, that's the metagame, but the metagame is in the metagame is in how to win tournaments, right? The actual strategy of the game outside of the game in the literal sense. However, coming into day 1, I did kind of shout it out and say it's possible that people just build up the murder boards and stop people tripling into those 6s very effectively. However, I doubt it, because we're so polarized in the direction of being Naga so much stronger than anything else. I didn't think it was possible. So that game where it did kind of happen a little bit was quite refreshing to see. We'll see if it continues throughout the day. Certainly, it becomes a factor later on with strike format, when you particularly are fighting to stop particular players in particular positions, right? People actually get huge targets on their back in this format when they're threatening everyone else with winning the tournament. So that's when the big, like, okay, I'm going to tempo out, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy a gas coiler, I'm going to buy a Meccano tank, like whatever it ends up being, to be able to push damage to a particular person, could end up being much more impactful as we get later on throughout the day.
Yeah, and as we saw in Hero Select here, we have got some hard hitters again. Galakron with Dragon here, as we can see now, already starting off with those hero powers. Not too much of a surprise at all. We see Tess, another Omu, another Vol'jin, Azshara, of course. And then we've got Galewing, Cookie, pretty solid. But then we have Yannisei on, honestly, a hero I haven't played at all so far, because I don't even think I've been offered this hero in my play, at least over the last few days.
Yeah, Lich is underwhelming in my opinion. Big problem overall. I confess I wasn't actually paying too much attention to Dragon's turn there, so I'm not sure what he is particularly upset about seeing on the other side.
Was it the fact the pig got him?
Very possibly, not sure.
Pigs everywhere. I've still not seen. We did see there was a Shudder Walk offered, but the comp isn't there. So with the no beast in here again, I feel like this is a curse we've been given. What was it? One beast game we had yesterday.
Yeah, 1as6. We saw beasts yesterday, which you would expecting to be seeing a lot more, but we've also just had it be banned for the first 2 games so far today. So It does seem like the curse continues. Yannisei is going to continue to build up coins here with the Lich. And as I was saying beforehand, I do find this hero to be a little bit underwhelming. In theory, it does feel like she should fit the bill, right? You're looking for heroes that can go up taverns quickly. Lich just picks up a coin every single turn, so that makes sense. You're able to do it. However, the cost of health is so enormous that in my experience, when you try and do it, you find yourself in that Sour King position from the previous game, right? Where you're just at such low health when you're tripling into your 6. That if you get yourself in that position where you fight anyone with any kind of relative strength at that time, you end up taking too much damage and dying. So I haven't had too much success with Lich up until this point. Be interesting to see how this one panned out.
Yeah, we even saw there from Yannisei a little bit earlier on that he could have leveled there with the coin into 6 gold, right? But they chose to pick up the 2 Yohos just to be feel a little bit safer and just sustain some of that health. He's naturally going to lose due to his hero power.
I'm still trying to work out that Dragon turn, because he had a coin in his hand, right? Which meant that he started with the 3-1 and then sold it to hero power instead of coining to hero power. So I'm guessing that was the concern, right? That he didn't think that his 3-1 was ever going to compete with a Yogg minion on the other side, so he ended up selling the minion instead of using the coin, which he just didn't need.
And then it was a 1-2.
And then it was a 1-2 that would have tied in. Anyway, it's a very strange interaction. I'm not really sure what ended up happening there, but all very weird at the end of it.
Wow. Look at this offering for Alucard.
Hello, beautiful. When you go 3-on-3, that's the board you want to see when you get there.
It's literally perfect, right? Those 2 minions are the exact 2 you want. And I'd be shocked if he doesn't just insta-pick them both up.
I think at this point, no Naga on board. Is that still the best Naga to be offered alongside a Siren? It probably still is, right?
I still think so, because it's still effectively, you cast it twice, right? The Shoal Commander buff. You still make it, even with only 2 Naga, it's still +4/+4.
Yeah, it's a natural 4/4 just in terms of straight up tempo, which is pretty good for a 3-on-3 minion, and then it's giving an extra +2/+2. So it's kind of equivalent to, I don't know, like Bronze Warden plus the Dragon buffer in terms of immediate tempo overall, right? Bronze Warden being a decent amount of stats, and then the Dragon buffer being a 4/4 with a 2/2 buff built in. So, yeah, that is a lot of stats on that turn.
Yeah, and also you add to the fact that those are minions you never necessarily need to replace for the rest of the game either.
Oh, for sure.
So, you know, they're the minions you actually want in your late game comp, which is pretty impressive. And that's going to be pushing some nice damage on Tess. But the problem is, it's Tess.
That's the point of stress, right? I genuinely think that's what made the decision take so long. I wasn't necessarily looking at the opponent on that turn, but he could have, for example, eaten one of the Naga there, put it in the pot instead, and then just put a weaker board up against Tess, which again, is that kind of thing I was talking about this yesterday. Normally, like, don't feed Rafarm, don't feed Tess, is again kind of scrub bait, and you should generally focus on your own game plan instead of one of 7 of your opponents on the other side. However, Tess, Scabs, Rafarm, etc. in this meta where Naga are so dominant have such game warping potential that it might still be correct to play around them in certain positions. But again, I think the double 3-drop pickup was just way too good on that turn. Let Tess do their thing. All Dragons here. We found it. Galakrond has done the Galakrond thing.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. Does have to catch up on levels to make the Naga Discover relevant or more relevant, but still, very, very good start indeed. Max definitely got the tempo aspect down for Queen Ashara with double Snail Cavalry and reasonably buffed as well, not only in that health total, but in the attack values as well, being at 6 attack is pretty solid. They're going to make probably 2 for 1 for each minion, most likely.
21 total on board right now, which means 8 gold for 9 attack next turn. It's possible, but difficult, I would say. With the South Sea Captain available, obviously Pirates add a little bit more attack if he's able to pick those up, and there are some decently sized ones on 3 that he can find. Very possible gets it done this turn. Not with that board. With those, no. Weirdly, the Sunbacon isn't bad, because with 8 gold, you can only sell 1, buy 2 anyway, and kind of the Sunbacon's probably the best thing to sell in that position. But yeah, with nothing available, I think Consolation Prize just go up those levels. Now finds himself on, what, 20? So he's barely lost any attack on his board to be able to go up an entire level there. This makes sense. And now he has 9 gold to buy 3 things from 1 Tavern 4 shop next turn to find 10 attack, which I'd have to say is favoured. Believe it or not the kind of thing I've ever run the odds on in a game of Battlegrounds, whether you're favoured to find 10 attack on a Tavern 4 board. But I would imagine you are favoured to do so.
Yeah, and the thing is, what's most important there, I think, is that Max isn't taking a lot of damage right now. Like, if he was getting pressured and not hitting the hero power and maybe struggling to level, that's when you get into a mess as Queen Ashara, right? But I think the fact he drew the last fight, managed to level, he's with that snail board is probably going to be at least okay in the next fight as well. I think he just needs a little bit of time, but Yuan-Sayed doing pretty well now. Double Siren. These snails will probably go in the near-ish future. We'll have to see what he gets off it here. The Omu. So I was going to say 6-0 then, just from the, because I'm used to it from the last game.
Did Tess fight the Galakron on curve when the Galakron found the Orgazoa?
So.
I think they must have done. Oh, come on!
Yes.
Delete Tess. What is this nonsense? Come on. Absolutely heinous.
Ups and downs here, though, for Ansei, because he did generate the third Siren, which is absolutely huge for a triple, of course. But he is fighting Demon's Omu right now, which means the hero power is going to...
Boo-hoo! Yeah, I mean, swings and roundabouts, right? You win some, you lose some. You just got a 6-drop for free on turn 6 without having to level, and you've tripled a Siren. But boo-hoo, you fought a Demon player once. Come on, Raven. Honestly.
Well, when you get used to the power of Tess, you expect the best every turn, okay? Like, no Tess player is like happy and oh, you know, it's okay. I'm fighting a Demon player.
Cry me a freaking river. This is all fair, isn't it?
Yes, fair for a Tess player. This is the expected power level, Sol.
You're sounding like a priest apologist right now. That's what you're sounding.
How dare you?
Yeah, well.
How dare you?
Yeah, you didn't like that, did you?
Because you don't choose to play Tess.
Yes,
right?
you do.
Tess decides that. If you get
very literally do.
If you get offered Tess, it is your duty to play Tess. Priest players choose that time and time again.
Well,
King, though, does have the Athissa option.
Yeah, does have the Orgazoa option, though, as well. And the Athissa in this kind of position did burn him last time. Taking a look at his board, which is currently obscured. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it doesn't actually have much of the Naga makeup, and that is so interesting. That is so incredibly interesting. I think he is now saying, yeah, too late. This is the Zixo position from the previous game, right? It's like, what's the point in me just taking an Athissa, which is going to take me 2 or 3 turns to get online because I don't have the Naga I need, or an Orgazoa, which kind of by definition takes 2 or 3 turns to really catch up because you have to kind of milk that scaling. When everyone else, I can check the sidebar and see the amount of players that are already rocking Naga. There's no way I'm going to catch up with them in this position. So he's just trying to do damage to Galakron.
You want the reason, because I believe there's like 1.5 reasons. 0.5. He could maybe still go into Naga and still pop off, right? Like, that's always an option. It might not pay off, but maybe. Main reason, you take it so no one else can have it, so. So then, all the other Naga players, there's going to be at least one who feels like they're falling behind, and then they'll eat that one. You let them cannibalize each other, and you just hide in the corner and hope you don't get hit too hard.
Yeah, picks up the Scally now. Looks like Zalking is just absolutely locking in to hard tempo, probably now considering that Khadgar as well, whether he wants to look for some kind of Exodia setup. Exodia, in my opinion, incredibly weak in the current metagame. Its great benefit is that you are strong for the turns that you are setting it up, which is not necessarily true for other builds in the game right now. Like while you're at the point where you have like an Eliza or a Golden Eliza or 2 Elizas, a couple of Scallies, whatever, you're really strong at that point already, right? Which is great. But the end game payoff with the Baron and the Khadgar doesn't make the stats that you need to be able to fight with Naga board on the other side. So he is going to pass it up.
That's your special card, Sol, the Nosy Looter. You had about 100 of those in a game I watched you play the other day.
Don't remind me. That was very traumatic. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
This is a big fight here because this Tess is huge, and that is the Galakron on the other side, or Dragon, that just took the damage from Zalking. So between the tag team of Zalking and Nuensei, they might just be doing enough to bully this Galakron out of the game here, because I think this is going to be a pretty close fight with the Gala on the other side.
Also as well, Galakron's comp is not very strong, right? Considering, you know, what he got offered, right? He's still got the poison, he's got the Mantid, which did get the Divine Shield, which is not bad at all. For this stage in the game, the extra health here and that value trade might just be good enough here for Yansei to just put an end to Galakron.
Yeah, that was a game changer. The Divine Shield Poison, I think, was going to be enough, but then the biggest minion left remaining for the Ore Dragon was just the worst trade available on the board. But that final attack, taking the Orgazoa off the board, means he just about lives to fight another day, and that is huge, huge news for Ore Dragon because he now finds his way up to Tavern 5.
Yeah, it looks like Lich is going out. Yannisei going to be dead now, the first player to fall on this turn. And again, just looking at Dappy's comp, the comps are a mess right now for a lot of these players.
It's the HGI board!
Yeah,
it's exactly what I was talking about! Oh no! Is it actually going to happen? There's another Meccano tank. Okay, so let's rewind all the way back to day one. In an event which officially didn't happen and we don't like to talk about, this was what we kind of saw for the entire tournament. We thought going in that this kind of milking scaling strategy that we've been seeing doing very well on ladder, being the optimal order strategy, was going to be dominant in the tournament. And instead what people did was just bought high tempo demons early on, soul jugglers, and then if they were tripling into Tavern 4 Revenge minions, it was Meccano tank and not Lightspawn or Nest Matron, which is what we were expecting to see to win the game. And it just killed people and stopped them from being able to scale and stopped them from being able to win the game. We saw basically none of this throughout the entirety of day one. But now all of a sudden, Zixo in that first game not doing exactly this, but certainly doing a philosophically similar strategy, and now we're seeing this double soul juggler, double tank strat come out from Dappy, just saying, you know what, if I can kill a person or two, I'll take it. But I think he might just be getting a big culture shock as the stats come out on the other side. But actually, the numbers, the raw numberage is not quite there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Yuansei's board is overall strong, but the sheer amount of damage coming out, considering it's 2 Orgazoids there, and nothing to back it up, right? So this is, potentially either winnable or at least a draw here from Dappy, just because the sheer amount of points of damage going to be flying out here from all of these minions. Although, let's see where the trades go. Okay.
That's huge, 3 attack. Yeah, so the problem here is that if you break that down, okay, ends up on a tie, but the way those attacks were going, obviously Meccano tanks are guaranteed to hit the highest health minions, and the way those breakpoints broke down is that it was always 1 damage short of actually doing a relevant breakpoint on what it was attacking on the turns it was going through, and then even the soul jugglers started to deal 3 damage to 4 health minions towards the end as well, so the random breakpoints just didn't work out particularly well in terms of being able to win the fight. But job done, right? Like, he fought the Tess and he's alive. He can tell the story to his grandkids. He continues to live in this lobby.
Tess only allowed it because she knows that he'd just kill other people for her. So
yeah,
it's
true.
fine. Here, though, I was going to say Ore Dragon's comp, although on paper or at a glance it looks strong. To me, it actually looks relatively weak considering how far into the game he actually is. He did manage to find a Siren, again, key component, so he can actually start to get some work done now with the Siren and start really stacking those Athysas.
You ever just stop and think about how dumb that is? Like, turn 10, he's got a probable Divine Shield Poison, multiple 20/20s, and probably like 24/24 of passive scaling at the end of his turn. And you're just like, yeah, it's kind of weak for turn 10 overall, I'd say.
Yeah. Sounds very dumb, but tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's look at what else is hanging around, right? The Tess now has double Athisa, double Orgazoa, but doesn't necessarily have enough spots left on board for the spellcraft buffs, just has those Orgazoas, but is certainly bigger. Elsewhere, I'm not seeing too much in terms of boards with bigger futures. You can look at this Zixo board, for example, and just say, okay, that's might be better right now with the Leroy and the big Divine Shield cleave. But I do still think Ore Dragon is in the 2nd best position in the lobby in terms of overall future and overall win condition.
Sure. I do want to point out as well that at just a quick glance, I can say on turn 10 of this game, there were a grand total of 2 Athysas in the game across all comps.
No. Tess has 2. Galacront has 1.
Oh, sorry, 3. That's still not a lot.
It's not a lot, you
considering
are.
what we've seen. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see, because one's got Divine Shield on it and it confused me. But yeah, you are completely right. And look at the value in hand for Yuan-Se. It's so much gold and Tess doesn't even need it. That's a big loss as well. Like, Sao King's going to gain some points, but Sao King also was 8th in the last lobby, so he's got a lot of catching up to do going forward.
Alucard scrambling to try and find something to do, counteract this Tess on the other side, but the turn's certainly less explosive than what's going to be offered.
I think it's time to get rid of the Harvest Golem. It feels like it right now.
Stop saying Harvest Golem.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's the Faux Reaper, the Faux Reaper, the Faux Reaper, the Faux Reaper. It shouldn't look so similar. Anyway, so you think it's time to get rid of it now because it's reducing down potential stats because the minion that Alucard has for the stat gain is that critter.
I absolutely understand what you're saying, but I don't think you can, right? The philosophy behind getting rid of the Faux Reaper would be to say, okay, I'm going to maximize my stats over time with everything, get an Athissa, and then win the game, right? But that's just not the reality. It's not what's going to happen, right? You need to just be max tempo at all times. Max tempo at all times here is doing exactly this. Yeah. Doing the thing! Hooray! We actually get to see it happen.
I would retract my suggestion if I realized this was going to happen. This is a much more threatening and reasonable Faux Reaper than it was before. Because, you know, we know, and I'm sure Alucard would be aware that before the Faux Reaper got buffed then, it was barely even going to scratch the minions from Yuan-Se, yeah. So I think it was it was a good way to make this happen and make this Faux Reaper a lot more relevant.
Okay. Good hits, not going to be anywhere near enough, but the way the sequencing worked out at the start with the trades going through, I think was nice. Second cleave is now actually a big deal. That's currently 15. That was not the trade! He needed that big minion to be able to take out the 20-ish health Siren on the right-hand side, but without that Siren going down, 6+6+3 is going to be enough to take him out. It was a valiant effort. And unfortunately, even though Alucard did the thing with the Divine Shield scam with the magnetic minion, he then died immediately, so we don't then get to see the results of that the next turn where the Faux Reaper just has permanent Divine Shield. So we still haven't necessarily illustrated the point that I've been trying to make all tournament.
Love the stark contrast where if you put Dragon and Max's health numbers next to each other, it still wouldn't add up to the amount of Yuan-Se's.
If you put them next to each other and multiplied it by 7, it still wouldn't add up to one. So it's like, it's not close.
Looks like as well, Max might be the first one to go. Always unfortunate in situations like this where you're paired with someone who's, you know, also basically one shot away from death, and you're the one who goes into the first place person that's clearly going to win, almost certainly going to win any fight they take for the rest of the game. And you're just like, please let me get the ghost, let me get the ghost, and then, you know, you're the one who doesn't get it, so you're probably the one who's going to end up in third place. But still, third place with in what again I would say is a rough game. I think this is not a turn 12 comp you would really be proud of if you were Max right now. So yeah, I think again just accepting a third, second potential place in a lobby like this, especially when one player is just dominating, is almost like winning the lobby yourself.
Yeah, and this one I'm not going to argue with you on just for the sake of it. Like, Queen Ashara, turn 12, yeah, that's a pretty miserable looking board state for that hero at this stage of the game. Yep, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
You know, those numbers keep going up. That's what you aim for.
Divine Shield on everything.
Just compare the size.
Leroy kicking things off if he wins the 50-50 of going first. There's not even a cleave available, not that it would have mattered whatsoever. And this means we're going to have to find Dragon on Galakrond being able to find a way to solve the Tess problem right now. And rewind, right, all the way back, and we're like, do you just not give Tess these 3 drops because they're insane? This is kind of what I was talking about, right? And I will once again make the point that in almost every circumstance, that point is absolute nonsense and you should ignore it always. But Tess equals Tess in this meta. It's incredibly scary to feed her. And I think Siren in particular, Siren and Athissa are the 2 cards in particular you should be very, very wary of feeding her, because those 2 cards are the enablers. Once Tess has those cards or one of those 2 cards, she can take anything else she wants from anyone else's board across the entire game.
It really is the backbone of the comp, and I think it's also why the comp's so powerful right now, is that Siren is a 3-drop. So you can pick it early, it's good early, it's good mid, it's amazing late. So it's just perfect at all times of any given game. But still, I think, again, All Dragon, although, you know, whoever fed the Tess, we could talk about that, but I think there's a certain level of this is so strong that if I feed Tess and Tess wins, fine, but maybe this is strong enough so that I'm second place.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think first and foremost, you are supposed to look out for yourself at all times. Certainly, I think there are niche situations where, like, if you literally triple into a 6 early and you think you can take 15 from Tess and just move on with your life and never lose a fight again for the rest of the lobby, then go for it. The only reason I keep bringing it up here is because as we progress through, because this is strike format, there will be times when very deliberately you might actually be better off straight up dying to Tess yourself than giving Tess minions. That is a legal play in this format, by the way.
Sell your whole board.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your nice hero power.
Anything that is provably in your own self-interest in this format is a legal play. So if you want to sell your board to prevent a Tess who has the lobby in check from stealing good stuff from you, that is legal tournament play in this position. So the reason I'm hammering that point so hard is that it really might come up later.
Yeah, it's very important to emphasize that as soon as someone puts the lobby in check, the game changes dramatically, right? And we will, you know, we will see that when it happens. But yeah, to no surprise there, as we were just breaking down the potential changes that can happen. Yansei takes the lobby on Tess, and like I said, a member of the Thieves Guild, it just doesn't stop. I think Scabs won the previous lobby as well, right? It's just so strong overall. So no big surprise.
Is this a real thing, by the way, or is this just like a name that you've given to?
I'm pushing it. It's a real thing in other things, but not necessarily.
So the Thieves Guild is a real thing, but they're not all actually canon members of the Thieves Guild?
No. It's not even necessarily a real thing in Warcraft. I'd have to check on that. But it's a thing. I'm just saying it's a good way to group those heroes, I think.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, we can see. Yeah, we can see this now. Where we're looking at from lobby 2 onwards. Alucard there, still sitting at the top, but only by half a point. All Dragon doing the job of just doing okay enough, right? Like doing just a solid job all round to keep up. But Yansei with the win helped out massively and pretty much, I think it's fair to say right now, like negated the poor performance in the previous game. But look at the bottom Sottle, especially Sao King. So much work would need to be done from him to really make a splash and actually catch up and put the lobby in check himself.
Yeah, interesting play, because he went from the greedy line game 1 with the attempted triple into the 6 and then kind of dying at that point to a murder board, to very timid play in the second game where he turned down the 2 win condition cards to go for an Eliza instead, then picked up Scallywag. He initially turned down Khadgar, but now looking at his final board state, just in our data, he ended with a golden Khadgar on board with double Scally and Eliza, so he did end up going into a little bit of an Exodia comp eventually. So I would say overall a little bit of a confused flip-flop kind of strategy from Sao King in that one. Certainly is going to need to start putting some points on the board, but still there is time in this one. Like honestly, it starts to become, you know, fractions of percentage when you get there, but the way this format works, again, like even if every other player or 2 or 3 other players in the lobby have already got to 20 points and you're on 0, that's still a winnable tournament for you, believe it or not, in the way this works. There's this kind of like 14 game pan out that people have posted various spreadsheets of, where it's a 0-point player then winning every single lobby from the point where everyone else gets put the lobby in check. It can be done, but it is fractions of percentage at that point.
It truly is just by far the main and key strength of the format, right? The tournament and the games and the point totals, it's not over until literally someone is a champion, right? There's no, okay, we're going to play this game. If this person gets 8th, then this other person automatically wins. They can just get 7th, not care, and that's just done and dusted. No, it only ends when someone wins a lobby or a game when they're in check, and that's it. There's nothing else that can happen there. So as you said, we can have crazy scenarios. We can have scenarios that we saw in the last Lobby Legends with B-Nice, which was just raw domination in the early games, which led to his victory. So there's just a lot that can really go on.
It's rare that I will say this, but based on both of our attempts to explain this point, Lorinda has just popped up in Discord chat and explained it much better than either of us did. And that is rare, so I'm going to use his wording. No matter what the tournament state is, if you are on 0 points, no matter what else, if you win 4 lobbies in a row from that point, you win the tournament. Nothing else matters. Because if you're winning every lobby, no one else can win the tournament because they are required to win a lobby in check format to be able to end the tournament. So the comeback is always on, no matter how bad your start is.
Yeah, and I can't wait until we get there. And we are getting closer and closer, of course, as Game 2 is over. We are going to go to a quick break while we set up Game 3. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be back with some more Lobby Legends.